All right, everybody, welcome. I'm Rob Manfredi, the owner of Bamboo Solutions, and today we're going to talk about SharePoint Alerts and what's been going on out there in the Microsoft world. We're going to do a quick PowerPoint presentation, give a little background on the product, take a quick tour of the website, and then we're going to dive into the product and where we are with the solution. So a little bit about Bamboo. We're a provider of software applications and consulting services for SharePoint and Microsoft 365. By the way, we are recording this and we will send out a link to the recording after so you can share it with your teammates. We've got over 8,000 customers that installed our software, probably a couple thousand on active maintenance at this point. We're a Microsoft Gold partner, and we've got very large customers and we've got very small customers. So we like to say we provide high value, low cost solutions that make the user experience better for SharePoint. Get myself organized here so I can flip through these. All right. Boy, we've been around 14, 15 years. Bamboo products have been serving the market since 2007. We're a team of about 40 folks that do both federal consulting, commercial consulting, as well as product development, which is what we're talking about today. It's important to note that our products are SPFX solutions. They run in your SharePoint Online environment with no connection back to Bamboo. However, Alerts Plus is a little bit different if you choose to use our Azure environment for the backend processing, which we can talk about in a minute. Our products are available both at Bamboo and on Microsoft. I don't know if we have Alerts Plus over on the Microsoft App Store, so you need to get that from our website. We've got two licensing models. One is a perpetual license and maintenance. The other is a subscription. And that includes support, upgrades, installation, training, and anything else you need to get your products going. And to note, these are not add-ins because, as you know, add-ins are also retiring. So Microsoft seems like they're cleaning some house out there. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about our product Alerts Plus, sometimes with an S, sometimes with an out. All right, so what's happening that Microsoft announced over the past couple months is the retirement of SharePoint Alerts, right? So this is the Alert Me function that's within SharePoint. October of 2025, the SharePoint Alert expiration feature will be activated, which means the alerts will expire at some point in the future. In January of 2026, all tenants will lose the ability to create new alerts, and then by July, all alerts will be disabled and deleted. New tenants now don't have the alert feature in them. And as a matter of fact, our tenant, I believe, has lost its alert feature as well that we run Bamboo off of. So you're going to start seeing some crazy things going on there. But there are a lot of clients that utilize alerts. We've got some customers that we're working with that have over 250,000 alerts. And it's a critical function of SharePoint. So why is Microsoft doing this? Well, they're trying to promote Power Automate to build alerts for your clients, which is a little bit heavy and also expensive. There is a new automate feature called SharePoint Rules that's built into modern lists and libraries. They are somewhat less feature rich than alerts, but they do allow users to set up alerts for themselves and send out just a text email that says something has changed or been modified or has reached a business reason. It's a send email, no custom recipients. You can't customize the email. You can only send it to yourself or a value in a column. So you can't send it to an AD list or a lot of the other things that you used to be able to do with SharePoint alerts. You can now add a note that I've seen to yourself on why you're getting this alert, like, hey, it's from this list. But again, it's really nothing that was out there that matches the My Alerts function. So take a look at those two things. But what we've done is over the past several years, developed a product called Alert Plus. And what Alert Plus is, it allows you to create, very much like My Alerts, custom alerts based on an item being created, an item being changed, or an item exists in a list or a library. These alerts can be sent either daily or instantly, or with a setting that allows you to follow up with a second email after a certain number of days. So let's say you send out an alert, but you don't want it to be triggered again for another 4 or 5 days. You can do that as well. You can also apply complex business rules to these alerts. So that are things like, hey, a task that is due next week but is not completed, send out an alert, or a task that is past due and still not completed, send out this alert. So you can actually create alerts based on these business rules. The actual alerts are triggered from Azure using Azure functions, and we can have it so that those Azure functions reside in your Azure environment and have it completely controlled within your tenant. Or if you're a smaller group and don't want to use Azure or still haven't listed Azure as a safe place to attach to SharePoint, some companies have done that, you can use our Azure environment to send out those alerts. And of course, we provide all sorts of training and the like. So the interesting about Alerts Plus is that the alerts can be sent to anybody, including user groups, also tokens off of lists or items, or anybody that a user wants to specify. The triggers are very flexible. So really, it's almost replicating what alerts do, but we're actually expanding that to where the alerts can actually be sent to a Teams channel, to an SMS, and we're also going to build some webhooks in there. That the actual alerts are very rich in HTML, so you can edit those and make them pretty complex. And they can be sent out daily. We are adding weekly digest options so that you can get all of your alerts summarized into a daily summary or into a weekly summary. That is coming soon. And then we've also provided some central admins, which you really couldn't do in alerts, that allows users to manage all of their alerts across all of the sites in one location, or an admin to manage all of the alerts on their tenant. We have also found the ability to migrate your existing SharePoint alerts into Bamboo Alerts Plus, so that on day one, all of your existing alerts are running. There are some limitations in terms of the data we can get to, but at least then once they're in there and running, users can then edit those alerts and customize them the way they want using the Bamboo Alerts Plus product. So really it replicates what users experience today, but it also provides more admin control and the ability to manage your alerts from a corporate side versus just simply a user side. So what are the components of the solution? So there's the Azure services, right, which can run, that's a spelling error, in our cloud or yours. It stores all of your configured alerts, millions of alerts can be managed. This thing can be scaled to whatever your department needs. There is the product that is Alert Plus Manager, which is a central tool for admins or power users to configure or manage alerts for the team across your tenant. So this is a central location meant to be accessed by a few people to see all of the alerts or to set up alerts for business units and the like. And that can be distributed, and you can have this on many different locations, but it's not really the end user tool. The two end user tools, which are currently under develop and interact with the backend services, is My Alerts by Bamboo, which is the end user tool for users to create and manage the alerts on a list or library or an individual item, right? So you can do item level alerting. And this can be auto deployed to every list and library in your ribbon bar. So you're going to access it the same way you would My Alerts would. And then there's the new product, My Alerts Manager by Bamboo, which is the end user tool for centrally managing all of their alerts across their lists or libraries. I think we had a quick question. If you want to ask the question in the Q&A or chat, I'll answer it there, if that makes sense. All right, everybody. So we can see there's an Azure component. There's 3 web parts here. So if you kind of look at the topology of what it looks like, let me get to the next page. You've got your Alert Plus Admin web part, your My Alert by Bamboo web part, and your My Alert Manager. These are all SPF web parts. There is one other component which is used across all of our products, which is called Bamboo Tenant Manager. And Bamboo Tenant Manager does 3 things. It does 2 things now. It's about to do a third. So it manages the licenses for the products that you have purchased, which means you can put My Alerts by Bamboo across your entire tenant, and you don't have to license each individual web part. It actually talks to Bamboo Tenant Manager and confirms the license is current. The second thing it does is it runs metrics on how often these products are being accessed so that you can see a return on your investment for the products. The third thing it's going to do is it's going to keep your Azure client secret that allows the SPFX web parts to talk to either your Azure instance or ours. It's the same product that either talks to our instance or yours. So if you start with ours and then move to yours, you just simply change the secret and it now points to your new Azure environment. We will have to move the existing alerts from one table in our Azure environment to your table. But other than that, it's a pretty simple change to move from our cloud to yours if that's what you want to do. What's the benefit of putting the Azure secret in a single location across your tenant? Well, often those change. They change every 30 or 60 days for security purposes. You wouldn't want to have to go to every instance of the web part where the secret may reside, which it doesn't. But you can then change it in a single location, and then all of the products will continue to work as that happens. So that is meant to be an admin tool that manages your license as well as the Azure secret that the products use to communicate with your Azure instance. So again, it can be very simple if you use our cloud. You just simply install the web parts, put in our secret into the tenant manager, and you're off and running. If we're going to install the Azure instance in your cloud, we simply work with your team and we set up the Azure services. And then you run it completely within your environment, both on your SharePoint tenant and your cloud. So either way is fine with us, and that's the way it works. So what does that My Alert look like? We're going to see the Alerts Plus admin in the demo, but this My Alerts, which is under development, is going to look something like this. So both in the item level or across the top ribbon bar, you're going to have a new button for your users. That's going to be called My Alerts by Bamboo or something like that. When you click on it, it's going to open up a dialog, which is the web part, and allow you to set your trigger conditions, right? You can add your filter conditions like status equals in progress. You can pick your delivery options. We're going to come out and then who's going to get that email. And then you can decide if you're going to send it to email, to a Teams channel, or an SMS. These two will come out early next year, but email will be the first thing we come out with, and then you can give it a name and a description. So it's going to be a very simple dialog box for the users. We're thinking of actually adding additional email configurations through a button if you want to customize the email with tokens from your list, such as a URL to the task, a URL to the list, any of the data that's in the list if you want to put in when the due date was, to make it more meaningful using the data from there. And this is something that the user will set up for themselves, and then they'll use the My Alert Manager or the My Alert by Bamboo. So if you're on the list, you can actually see all of the alerts that you've set up for that list. In the My Alert Manager, you can see all of the alerts that you set up across the tenant and disable them, edit them, delete them, or do what you want. So pretty straightforward. And again, deploying this web part can go across your entire tenant and automatically be added to all of your lists and libraries, no matter how many they are, or you can selectively deploy it to certain lists and libraries if that's the way you want to do it as well. All right. Any questions so far on what we're looking at? So let's go ahead and take a quick tour of our website to show you where Alerts Plus lives. Okay, so here's our website, bamboosolutions.com. Under products, we've got two sets of products. We've got the blue products, which are all for SharePoint Online. We currently support about 25 products we've developed. And the green products are the on-prem products, which we support 2016, 2019, and subscription edition for all of those products. So Alerts Plus is there, but it is just the admin console on that side. But we're going to focus on the blue. And whoops, we're going to jump down here to view more to see all of the pricing. So here's all of our products. We've got some great searching products. There's our alerting project. There's Tenant Manager, which is a free product. There's Calendar Plus, Carousel, Chart Plus, Column Level Security Data Viewer. We have a directory product, org chart products, some navigation, some news items. Tabify is a really popular product that allows you to tab web parts on a single page in either vertical or horizontal tabs and customize those names. So some really neat things that you should check out that we've developed here, but we're focusing on Alerts Plus. Now, right now, Alerts Plus has two ways you can purchase it. If you're going to put it in your Azure environment, it's a perpetual license and maintenance model. So it's $5,500. And then second year would be 22% of that price. If you're a small business, that is a business under 100 users or a not-for-profit under 300 users, the perpetual license price is $1,210. And then the maintenance is yearly after that. But that has to run in your Azure environment. If you want to run it in our Azure environment, you need to shop the subscription options because it is a service. And if you're a small business, the web part is either $85 a month or $878 a year. If you are up to 2,000 users, it's $1,300 a year. If you're over 2,000, it's $3,600 a year and the like. So the pricing is right here on our website. And also the ability to get a demo of the product is right here in the Try Buy Now. So you can actually download a trial of the product right here, no credit card needed, add it to your cart, check out, set up a Bamboo account, download the web part. It will automatically connect to our Azure front end for testing. But don't forget, those two end user products are not available yet. They will be available at the end of October, early November. All right, let's take a look at what Alerts Plus does. Now, the hard part is really the back end and the scaling. The building of the front end UIs, such as the My Alerts, so that's the easier part. That's why we're able to respond quickly to this new announcement and create the end user products that weren't needed a month ago, but are now very much needed now that the alerts, SharePoint alerts are retiring. So we've got a web part up here, which is the Alert Plus Manager web part, right? So this is the one that allows you to create alerts for other users across your entire tenant. And then on the same page below, just for ease, I've got a list, right? And this list is a task list. It's got some start dates, some due dates, who it's assigned to, and the department and the like. And I've created two alerts. Again, they don't have to be on the same page. It's just for demo purposes. These are on the same page, and you'll see that when I set it up. So I've got one alert that when a task is overdue, or coming up, rather, that's probably a better name. I'll change that. And then if the task is actually past due. You can see the list that it's against, the list site that it is, and it's on this site, who created it, and whether the alert is enabled or disabled, and a success. Now, the alert itself is configured here in the web part, but it is actually run in Azure, right? So every 15 minutes, it's pulling the lists, running the business logics, generating the email in memory, and sending those out, right? So all that happens in Azure, but your editing and creation for both the users and the admins is done through the web part in SharePoint. So let's go ahead and just take a look at this task is overdue. We're going to actually say the name of this is coming due, not overdue. All right. So this is enabled. It is going to be against a list or library. We also have the ability to create alerts against one of our other products, which is called List Rollup. And what this does is it dynamically finds all lists within a site collection or site, or your tenant that match either a list name or a list type, and rolls them all together into a single schema so that you can create one alert against many lists, right, without having to create an alert for each list. So that's a really neat feature, but it does require another product with us called List Rollup. So if you're interested in that, just let me know. So in a sense, all you do is put in the target of the list, right, where the list is, and then click load, and you'll get your list of lists. Now, the end user, that button is on a list, so we don't need to know that because we already know where the button is. So that's already going to be pre-filled for the user. They can't change it. They're simply creating an alert against the list that the button is sitting on. So you can see it's really the same technology. We're just creating a new UI for end users to quickly create a list. But for admins, they may want to create alerts for lists that reside all throughout your tenant. So I choose the list that I want, which is Alert Plus Demo. And then I can choose either an ASAP or a daily timing. Now, we have several triggers that you saw that the users would select through a radio button, but for admins, you can choose item created, item changed, item has been created or changed, or simply an item exists, right? So those are the triggers that are going to trigger the alert. And then what hour during the day is that going to go? Now, what's interesting is once an alert is triggered, you can have a wait time of, let's say you only want, every 5 days to send another email out. So that means it'll trigger on day one. And then even if the condition is true, it won't send an email again for 5 days after. So you're not getting an email every day if that's what you want to do, or every 2 days. You can just set it to whatever you want. And that's a re-trigger timing on it. So then once you've got your list located, what the trigger event is, when it's going to be triggered, and your follow-up days, you actually say, all right, what's going to trigger my alert? So in this case, you can go against all items, right? But you don't want to do that with item exists, right? Because then you're going to trigger off everything. You're going to do it on some items. And then you create this little filter condition, which is pretty nice. So you've got all your list columns. You can say when the due date is, and we give you all these Booleans to set up. Is passed by, is approaching, is less than, is greater than or equal to, is this week, is next week, is this month, or is next month. So we're going to say is in the next week, and the status does not equal completed, right? So I don't have a, actually I can get rid of this, and it gets rid of the, oops. I think I can get rid of that. Well, it's allowing me to add another one. So it's always giving me the next one. Anyway, so my whole filter is the due date is in the next week and the status does not equal completed, right? That's going to trigger the email. So now all we need to do is configure our email. So our email against this alert looks something like this. So I've got all my metadata from the list or library here. And I'm going to say, dear, whoever the task is assigned to, I'm sending it to the assigned to. The from can be from anybody, so you can put your own support emails in there. It doesn't have to be Bamboo Solutions. Your subject can also have tokens, and you have an upcoming task that is due, that has not been finished, and then a link to the item URL. So we've got some extra data in here that's got the list name, list URL, item URL, or site URL that you can put in the email. So whether the user's setting it up for themselves, this is some of the additional stuff we may want to add in the body that allows them to put some tokens to make the alert more meaningful to them. But of course, the admin can do it when they're setting up alerts for other folks. And then you're finished, right? So now I've got this task is coming due, and the alert is running and ready to go. And then I can clone that alert if I want to create one that is past due. So I've cloned it, and then I've gone and I've actually just changed the filter where the due date is now passed by and is not equal, and I just want a different email that says it's past due, maybe a little more sense of urgency and the like. So you can see it's very easy to clone your existing alerts to make different filter conditions, but really alerting against the same thing in here. So pretty straightforward from that standpoint, and really all we're doing by putting in the alert here, the My Alerts, right, which would be either here, and it's also going to be in this menu, right, where you could alert on an individual item instead of the entire list. The user would get a slimmed down menu of items that allow them to set the alert up and go in there. Now, the important thing is that the alert data, before Microsoft deletes it, is accessible. We can export that data into an XML file and then import those alerts into Alerts Plus with a couple limitations that are pretty straightforward that we can talk about. But it allows you to move your existing alerts into an environment that will continue to run forever. Now, the nice thing is our product now is extensible through coding. So we're adding Teams alerting, we're adding SMS alerting, we're adding the daily and weekly digests of the alerts. Plus these tools, but we've got lots of ideas to expand not only where alerts are surfaced, but how alerts are generated and managed in there. So that's pretty much the overview of what we have today. We're happy to help you with a trial if interested, or meet one-on-one with your team to discuss what your alerts are, what we can do to help preserve those alerts and move them in the future post-retirement. So it's best to do something before the end of the year if you're thinking of migrating your alerts. But we hope that you reach out to us and let us know how we can help. So you'll get a follow-up email from this letting you know where the recording is, and also a bookings link for myself so that you can meet with me and the team and we can figure out how to keep you going. So thank you all for coming. We hope you found it helpful, and we are right at the bottom of the hour. Any questions? I'll hang out for a minute. Thank you, Johan. Thank you, Megan. Good seeing you all. Awesome. Well, we'll end it here and do some follow-up later. Thank you.